to the right problem here. Solving an equation written in factored form. So if my equation is factored out and set equal to 0, instead of having to try to multiply it out and do a whole bunch of solving, the easier thing to do is to make two separate problems. We know that anything times 0 gives me 0. So either the u minus 2 could equal 0 or the u minus 1 could equal 0. Well, we're going to solve these just like we solve everything else. We've got to move our 2 to the other side. So we're going to plus 2, and 0 plus 2 just gives me 2. Here I have to move my 1 to the other side. I'm going to add 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. So if I check that out, if I put my 2's in, 2 minus 2 is 0, 2 minus 1 is 1, but 0 times 1, hey, is 0. That checks out. If I happen to do the other one, put my 1's in, because that was my other answer, 1 minus 2 is negative 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, negative 1 times 0, guess what, is 0. So they tell you if there's more than one solution, which there is, you're going to separate them with commas. So u is going to equal 2 or 1, doesn't matter the order, just so you have them both in there. And there are my answers. So if it's in factored form and it's equal to 0, then you can just break it down and put each factor equal to 0 and solve. Number 8, solve for v. You have 3 times v plus 2 times negative v minus 1. Now if I'm solving for v, the 3 doesn't have a v with it, so there's nothing there to solve. So I can just ignore that that 3 is even there. I'm going to say either the v plus 2 could equal 0 or the negative v minus 1 could equal 0. So solving this first one, I'm just going to minus my 2 and move it to the other side. v equals negative 2. Now on the next one, couple different ways you can solve it. If we solve it our normal way, we say, oh, I got to plus my 1, so negative v equals 1, but then I have to remember to get rid of the negative side. I'm dividing by negative 1. 1 divided by negative 1 gives me negative 1 for my answer. The other way to do that is if you happen to recognize that this one is negative, the v is negative. Remember we did this in the solving equation section. No, you probably don't remember. Is move the v over instead of moving the number over. Since the v is negative and you want it to be positive, I'm going to add my v. If I do that, I just get negative 1 equals v. Now this was a whole lot shorter to do than this was, but we get used to solving equations all in the same way, so if you don't like to change your methods, this works. Otherwise, this is your shortcut. So again, we get two solutions, v equals negative 2 or negative 1, because we had two different v's that we needed to solve for. Now, by the way, if there is a variable with that 3, then you do need to set it equal to 0 and solve it. So if it said 3v equals 0, you would then go ahead and solve that. You get 0. Number 9, I'm going to solve that for you. So again, I've got two sets of factors here. And so I'm just going to change this problem just for fun so that you have an example. If I have, say, 2u in front of that. I'll type it in there. You'll just have to write it on your paper. You'll clear my ink first. There it is. There, we'll solve that instead. If I have something that looks like this, 2u times 3 plus u, now my pen, okay, it wasn't the smart ink, there it goes. My thing here has a u in this term, a u here, and a u here. So I'm going to end up with 3 answers. I'm going to say either the 2u could equal 0, the 3 plus u could equal 0, or the 2u plus 9 could equal 0. So if I solve this one, I have to divide by my 2. 0 divided by 2 is still 0. If I'm going to solve this one, I've got to move my 3 to the other side, so I've got a minus 3. 0 minus 3 is minus 3. And then if I have this one here, I have to minus my 9 first. 2u equals negative 9. And then I have to divide by 2. This one I can't simplify other than I write it as negative 9/2. So in this case I end up with 3 answers. U could equal 0, negative 3, or negative 9/2. And I put them all in.